Hey, good evening. My name is Ross Nova, and tonight we get to hear from the agent Bovino, Border Patrol Chief. He is a guy that I've been wanting to hear from quite a while. I've heard him talk to a couple of reporters, to a couple of random people, and the way he holds himself, the way he talks to people, the way he handles himself in those conversations is phenomenal. This guy knows his information really well. He knows what he is doing, and he does his job with precision. And honestly, this guy, he sort of reminds me of my first sergeant in the military. He is like that quiet professional where he's there, he gets the shit done, and he gets out, and no one knows about it. And I feel like a lot of the ICE agents are like that. They're not seeking for acknowledgement. They're not seeking for medals. They just want the community safe for their families, your families, the neighbors, the school. They want the citizens to be safe because a lot of these ICE agents, they live locally, right? Some of those ICE agents, we know at least, 28 of them were law enforcement that joined the ICE agent to actually do some real work, to get some real results, right? I got mad respect for this guy, and I wish he got more credit, but he doesn't need it. Honestly, I could tell he just wants families to be out in the parks enjoying family time, to be able to go to the movies, go to the malls, and not have to worry about illegals ruining their lives permanently, right? So I've been wanting to hear from him for a while on his progress, and I wish there was more information, but I'll take whatever. So let's play this, and I'll pause and comment throughout the video. But this guy is badass. Like, oh my gosh, like he legit reminds me of my first sergeant. Like, just wow, like larger than life character. Just I'm gonna stop complimenting. He reminds me of my first sergeant. Very badass. Total respect from me.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Greg Bovino. I'm the Commander at Large for Customs and Border Protection Assets here in the great city of Minneapolis. I'm here to talk with you today about interior enforcement, border security, and making our communities and our nation a safer place. I'm joined by my colleague, Executive Associate Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Mr. Marcos Charles. Now, folks, let me be clear from the start that public safety in Minneapolis is not negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
Exploit gaps in enforcement, gaps at that state and local level most especially. Federal law enforcement has a responsibility to act. That is why we are here, and that is what this operation is about.
Hell yeah.
Our operations are lawful, they're targeted, and they're focused on
targeted and focused, right? It was planned out.
individuals who pose a serious threat to this community. They are not random, and they are not political. They are about removing criminals.
Not random as well. So targeted, focused, and not random. When I was in the military, for us to do a mission, to get approved to do a mission, hundreds of people, hundreds of people have to get approved. They had to go through hundreds of people before a mission gets approved, right? Because there's so much background stuff that goes on to get this mission a go, right? For example, we had to make sure that the Blackhawks, are on the same page as us, the soldiers, right? They have to make sure the the drones are above and keeping an eye on us, making sure that we're safe, right? We have to make sure we know who we're going after, where they're located. There's a lot of research, a lot of work that goes behind each and every mission prior to the mission even has begun. In fact, I think 75% of the mission is the planning part. It's the paperwork. It's all this grueling work that's done behind the scene prior to the mission. The mission is 25%, right? Imagine, so for me to go out, step outside the green zone, there has to be so much work done prior for me to step out, right? Same thing over here too. For an ICE agent to go out in the field with documents, with a photo of the guy who they're looking for, right? Where they're located, right? Where they live, work, car they drive, what they're wanted for, how dangerous he is, right? Who are some of his friends, family, all this stuff in a single packet, right? 2-3 page, summary of this guy they have to try and catch, right? How do you think they got that information? Hundreds of people have put the work to make that arrest, make that ICE agent to go out there and make that arrest, right? So when you go out there and protest, you have to think, ICE agents don't just go out there each and every day just like, oh, let's go pick up Joe Smith, No, there's so much work that goes behind the scenes. I think 75% happens behind the scene and 25% is the agent receiving the paperwork and making the arrest. That's how much work happens behind the scene. You have to understand that. You have to, as a citizen. Missions don't just happen. There's a lot of grueling work, paperwork, checks, make sure they're within the laws. There's so much. Yeah, even lawyers are involved in this stuff. Make sure they're following the law. Make sure this is a legal thing that they're doing. There's so much work, and I hope you guys understand. And you guys may never understand the amount of work it takes to activate an agent to go out and pick up an illegal, a criminal,
who are actively harming Minneapolis neighborhoods. For too long, residents have been told that enforcing our nation's immigration laws undermines public safety. In reality, the opposite is true. When the law is not enforced, violent offenders remain free. Criminal networks expand, and the community pays the price. Our neighbors, our citizens, our friends pay the price.
The ICE agents just hit the streets, a month ago, like really hit the streets. I think they've been around a little bit, but not as much. How bad was the crime in the past 4 years prior to Trump administration, I wonder? And how much has crime come down just in the past year? I think the numbers are astonishing. I think I remember hearing the crime rates dropping so much that it shocks the system. Literally, I would love to get my hands on those numbers. And I may have to do a little research, make a note of it, to do research how much crime has gone down. Because I've heard cities saying crime has dropped. And it's not because of the law enforcement police officers doing a fabulous job. It's because we have agents out in the streets picking up the actual criminals that are committing the crimes, right? Because we have judges and prosecutors. Oh, he's an immigrant. Let him go. He's trying to he's trying to start a new life. Let him go. Don't mind him, all the crimes he's committed, right? And then they commit more crimes. So the crime stats are pretty high. But once these guys hit the streets, I think crime has gone down significantly. I would love to see those numbers. I'll try not to interrupt too often.
Rather than confront that reality of which I've just spoken, leaders like Tim Walz, Mayor Fry,
Boo.
have relied on heated rhetoric
Boo.
and accusations that distract from the facts. The facts are that
Like fraud.
are arrested murderers, rapists, child predators, cartel-connected criminals, and other individuals who pose a real danger to the people of Minneapolis. As these operations began and since, there have been constant attempts to interfere with lawful enforcement of our nation's Title 8 immigration laws here in Minneapolis. Officers have been violently and aggressively assaulted, objects have been thrown, and vehicles damaged. Despite that violence,
That's what pisses me off so much, right? These officers are literally risking their lives to go out in the streets, right? Where it's a lot more difficult to get these criminals versus in jails or when they're in custody, right? They go out there and they do their best to try to keep the damage to a minimum, right? And try to get these guys and cause as little harm as possible to the people around, to buildings, to structural stuff, to anything. They try and get in there. Because like I said, missions, there's a lot of planning going on behind the scenes. 75% of the mission is planning. 25% action. I strongly believe that, right? And we have these idiot protesters, stupid protesters. Yes. I'm not wavering in my thoughts. Stupid protesters. Going out there, honking the horns, telling the horrible criminals, the really bad criminals, hey, ICE agents are here, run. Never mind that you could hurt my kids or hurt my neighbor's kids or my neighbor or whoever else. Never mind that, just run. I am tired and sick. Time after time after time, I've asked you guys to march peacefully. I've asked you to stay 30 feet at a safe distance. You have your phones. You can zoom in very well. We got the smartphones. Everybody has smartphones. Great cameras, right? You can zoom in and still get the shots that you guys want. But you have to stay 30 feet and let the agents do their jobs. And no, following them, yes, you can follow, but honking them, blowing whistles, it's horrible. And why would you even follow them? There could be a gun battle going on. There could be a shootout. Situations can change very, very fast. And it can be very unpredictable. And you're putting yourself in harm's way by following the agents. I've had a mother who was following these agents, right? And the agents left a kid in the back seat and goes out with the phone and starts recording the ICE agents, right? Like, lady, what happened if there's a shooting going on with criminals and your kid gets shot? A bullet, ricochets and travels and hits your child. Like, why are you bringing kids to protest, to record an ICE agent? You are crazy. I would never, ever in a million years put my child near an ICE agent. Ever. Some of you are crazy. Putting other people's lives at risk, your family at risk. If you have a child, when you pick up your kid from school, go home straight away. Drop your kid off, grab your phone, and then go track ICE agents. But do not put the kids in harm's way. And again, stay 30 feet back. My gosh.
Enforcement has continued unabated. Our officers remain professional, focused, courteous, and committed to the mission. That mission, again, being Title VIII immigration enforcement. This effort reflects a coordinated federal approach. Agencies are working together under Title VIII authorities. Agencies like the United States Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and many other allied law enforcement agencies, FBI, DEA, ATF, and many others.
At least 5 and many more.
This operation under this umbrella.
Like I said, there's hundreds of people involved behind the scene that make the mission a go. Okay, missions don't just appear within 30 seconds and they just go do it, right? A mission starts at the planning, right? Doing the research, knowing who's here, who's not, going through judges, researching who they are, where they're staying at, who their families are, all these things are being researched, right? What kind of car they drive, where they work, right? There's so much goes into a mission before an ICE agent goes and picks them up, right? It's not just, and that's why I don't understand why people are scared to go out, right? It's because of the government. Government has put the fear in citizens, right? Saying they're gonna come and snatch you. They're the boogeyman. They can snatch you at any time. People are not showing up to work. People are not shopping. People are not going to movies because the government is putting the fear in the citizens of Minnesota, and that is wrong on so many levels. They should tell citizens be mindful of your surrounding, right? Because we have criminals around you. We're doing our very best to pick them up. We have top agents who are on top of it. Not saying ICE agents are going to come and snatch you if you're just walking randomly, right? All these people they pick up is precision. There have hundreds of people have been part of this planning to pick up one guy, right? So trust me, they don't give two shits who you are as a citizen, right? People have teased me, mocked me, right? Saying, hey, well, not teased me, but it's like, hey, you have to be careful, people like you can get picked up easily by ICE agents. In my mind, I'm like, hell no. I'm going to keep doing my normal job. I'm going to clock in at 5 o'clock. I'm going to drive my truck through the city like a normal. I'll go to these warehouses, pick up loads, drop off loads, and then continue on. Nothing about my day will change because there should be nothing, right? My name should not be brought up whatsoever in any of the paperwork that they go through because I'm here legally, right? I'm a U.S. citizen. So I should not fear in any way. Now, if I go up to the agents and start saying "F you," phone up at their face, and they see me, yeah, I'll probably get picked up. I will be surprised if I did not get picked up. But if I just go about my normal day, right? Go out and grab some coffee, go out to a movie, go hang out with my friends at the mall, go for a walk. I should not be worried about ICE agents. They're not there for you. They're there for criminals, illegals. The government has done a fabulous job of putting the fear in the citizens of Minnesota, and I am angry.
We share intelligence and execute operations in a unified manner. That coordination is essential to effective enforcement and public safety. Since the start of this operation, we've arrested some of the most dangerous criminal offenders operating in Minnesota. In the entire state of Minnesota, we have arrested some of the most violent criminal offenders right here in this city. These are not minor violators or minor garden variety criminals. These are repeat offenders with serious criminal histories. Now, folks,
Oh, that's gonna be good.
I came here today. I printed out a few.
This is just yesterday.
I'd like to share with you individuals that were arrested since yesterday. These 3 individuals were arrested just since yesterday. Keep in mind now, these individuals were walking the streets of Minneapolis with impunity as of yesterday. We've got.
This is very scary.
A criminal illegal alien from Laos, a registered sex offender, convicted of sex offense against a child, including fondling and failure to register as a sex offender. This individual was walking the streets of Minneapolis just yesterday. This individual right here.
Sex offender.
It's very interesting that I haven't seen this individual.
Sex offender walking amongst you guys.
On very much by the local news media or the state news media. That's
Picked up yesterday.
No, you can't. Let's continue here. We've got Samuel Aravelo Hernandez as a criminal.
We literally have a tracking system. Whenever a sex offender moves to a different neighborhood, the whole neighborhood knows. But when a legal sex offender moves, no one knows. Oh, he's illegal. Let him be. Let's warn the ICE agents. Let's warn him, the illegal, who's a sex offender. The ICE agents are in the neighborhood, so he can run, and then he can commit other sexual violence crimes. What is wrong with you people? He was just picked up yesterday. I would not be surprised if he was in the protest. Amongst you guys.
A legal alien from Guatemala charged with rape.
Like, come on. Would you rather have an ICE agent on the street? Or would you have this rapist on the street next to you? Who do you fear more? The ICE agent or the rapist? As a parent, I wish I'm a parent, but I'm not a parent. But if I was a parent, I feel a whole lot safer with him on the streets than this rapist. This is what you guys are protesting. No ICE agent, yes rapist. It is black and white. It is simple as that. No, yes. We want rapists. We want killers. We want gangs. We do not want this guy.
And lewd or lascivious acts with a minor. Now, think about that for just a second. Rape, and then on top of that, lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. This individual was walking the streets of Minneapolis with impunity just yesterday. Let's don't quit there. Let's keep on there. We've got Annabelle Gomez, a illegal alien from Honduras, previously arrested for criminal sexual conduct and domestic assault.
Domestic assault, sexual conduct, and DUI.
Disorderly conduct and driving under the influence of liquor. Walking the streets as of yesterday. These are just three that I decided to print out. There's a whole stack of them. There's a whole stack of them. As a matter of fact, when we look over the past year at the 10,000 that have been arrested here in Minneapolis.
I just cannot believe that you protesters, you liberals, Democrats, prefer the criminal, the sex offenders, the murderers over the ICE agent who wants you to be safe. I fear these guys, the criminals, versus the ICE. I look like an illegal. I am minority. I don't have fear. I'm not listening to what the Democrats are saying because I don't believe them. I go to work every day, 5 a.m., drive around the Minneapolis, St. Paul, picking up loads, dropping loads off at warehouses, and then go home. I'm never worried about these guys arresting me. Now, like again, if I'm protesting up in their face, yeah, I will get arrested. And I hope I get arrested because what I'm doing is wrong. But I feel a lot safer with these guys out in the streets than the rapists, murderers, killers, whatever.
In Minnesota, that stat is enormous. These are the kinds of individuals this operation focuses on. Individuals who escalate situations and endanger others. Again, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, and Ma and Pa America. This is exactly why interior enforcement exists, to remove dangerous criminals from our communities, remove dangerous illegal alien criminals from our communities. It's also important, folks, to address a point that's often overlooked. Interior enforcement does not exist in isolation. It's not just about interior enforcement. It's a dichotomy here. It's interior enforcement and border enforcement. What happens in Minneapolis is directly connected at what happens at our borders. Interior enforcement and border enforcement, border security, are intricately connected. For years, federal law enforcement was placed in a defensive posture, especially over those past 4 years. Agents were overwhelmed, processing massive numbers of illegal aliens coming into the country, often with limited vetting, minimal accountability, and few consequences.
The last administration was literally putting every citizen's life in danger. Literally. We did not know who was coming across the border, and they were catch and release. You're in, here's a court date, you're released. We did not know who was coming. And now they're everywhere, committing crimes. I'm pretty sure crime has gone up since Biden administration. And I won't be surprised if the crime rate has gone down in the past 2-3 months. I'll be not counting the protesters and stuff, but I'll be shocked. I will not be shocked if crime did go down. I will love to see those numbers on crime rates. I think it'd be very, very interesting to see if there's actually less crime, and I almost guarantee there is. But will the Democrats, the state of Minnesota, report that? No, because that would be a good thing, and that they cannot have. That would be bad for them.
I think that's proven right here, just by those three that I held up there. Time and resources that should have been dedicated to public safety were diverted to administrative processing, and criminal organizations exploited that environment. Over the past year, under the leadership of our President, Donald J. Trump, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, that dynamic has changed. It's changed radically. It's changed more than I've ever seen.
Kristi Noem, so that's her name. That's how you say it. She is badass too. Oh my gosh, we have amazing people working tirelessly to make the citizens of Minnesota and all the other states safe. Literally, and I've seen her speak. I've seen her, out in the news and stuff, and she does a phenomenal job of releasing information, keeping us informed. Man, I would love to shake her hand and say thank you. Just like Bovino. I'd love to shake both those people's hands because it's very rare to see people like these two very fine people dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our great state of Minnesota. Like, oh my gosh, it's hard to describe the feelings I have for these two guys and all the ICE agents, and all the other people behind the scene that you never ever hear about, and oftentimes they don't seek for acknowledgement. They don't seek for fame and glory and all that stuff. They do it because they love the state. They love Minnesota. They love the U.S. They want to go home and have their families be safe 24/7 and not have to worry about, criminals roaming the streets at night. There's so many amazing, amazing people. I wish the protesters can just slow down, stop for a moment, pause for a moment, breathe, and just kind of think things through. What am I doing here? Why am I here? Does it make sense? Have I gathered enough information to be protesting, against ICE? Have I even sat down and talked to an ICE agent, having a normal conversation like you and I? Or am I just too busy listening to the government, and believing everything they say? Big bad wolf ICE, the boogeyman ICE, I really, really want the citizens of Minnesota to slow down and pause and ask serious questions and talk to ICE agents one-on-one when they have the time, and ask questions. Because I bet you they're more than happy to sit down and talk to you and tell you what's going on if you give them the opportunity. Instead of just yelling. Talking, not yelling. Difference.
In my over 3 decades in law enforcement, border enforcement has reached historic levels. I actually called back to my home sector in El Centro today. They had 1 apprehension over the past 24 hours. 1 along that 75-mile stretch of border in El Centro alone. Last week, there were several days where they had 0 border crossers in that sector. That's the same thing across all 20 Border Patrol sectors. Very few crossings. Illegal crossings have dropped to record lows. Catch and release has ended. Consequences have been restored. Again, consequences restored. Because the border is now secure, law enforcement can do its job more effectively. Agents are no longer tied up processing and releasing individuals into the interior, individuals that we just talked about. They can focus on who is coming into this country, and just as importantly, identifying and removing those who should not be here. And that shift matters. It allows for meaningful vetting, targeted enforcement, and a renewed focus on public safety over paperwork.
I like that. Safety over paperwork. Amen.
Border security provides operational control, disrupts cartel pipelines, and prevents criminal flow from reaching American cities. It also allows law enforcement to focus, again, on removing individuals who slip through during years of failed policies and later committed serious crimes. What happens on the border doesn't stay on the border. Border enforcement and interior enforcement are 2 parts of the same mission. A secure border without interior enforcement leaves communities vulnerable. And interior enforcement without border control is unsustainable. Again, it's that dichotomous relationship. When both are aligned, the results are clear. Over the course of this administration, more than 10,000 criminal aliens have been apprehended here in Minneapolis over the
in Minnesota only?
And in just the last
10,000. That number is mind-blowing. These agents are working overtime. They're working on New Year's Eve. They're working on Christmas. They're working on every holiday. While you guys are at home celebrating Thanksgiving, these guys are working that evening. Like the 10,000 in a single year just in Minnesota. Oh my gosh. It is mind-blowing numbers. And they're doing it without law enforcement, sheriffs, or any help from the government in the state of Minnesota. Without any help. And they're doing it while everybody's out there blocking them, stopping them, doing all these things to slow down the ice ages. They're still pushing forward against all odds. These people should be the heroes. These people should be celebrated. These people should be cheered on, supported, being thankful for these great men and women out there on the streets keeping us safe. Because it's not the government that's doing it. It's not the police that's doing it. It's not the sheriffs are doing it. It's these federal agents that are doing it. I am emotionally moved by the sheer number of 10,000 illegals in just a single year. That's a lot of work, a lot of time and energy has put into behind the scenes too. Like I said, 75% is behind the scenes, 25% actually apprehending the people.
6 weeks, the last 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
During this most current surge, 3,000 arrests.
Dude, slow down here. Oh, you're overwhelming me. So we're up, what, 13,000?
Of some of the most dangerous offenders operating in Minneapolis have occurred. 3,000. These are not technical violations, as I mentioned. These are individuals responsible for serious harm. Think about it for just a second, what the rape of a child actually entails. It seems as if that's glossed over by the media oftentimes. What does that entail, and what's that like? Think about that. Murderers, rapists, gang members, they're not the people we want in our community. This is what public safety looks like. When the law is enforced consistently and professionally, we will continue enforcing the law. We will continue making arrests, and we will
Please do.
Working to keep
Please do.
safe.
Please do.
The mission continues
Please.
at the border
Yes.
and in the interior, because that effective enforcement depends on both occurring at the same time. Let's make America safe again.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Huh? Hell yeah. Wow.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcos Charles. As Greg introduced, I am the Executive Associate Director for ICE Enforcement Removal Operations. Thank you for joining us. We announced the current status of Operation Metro Surge. As you know, the Department of Homeland Security has arrested over 10,000 illegal aliens in Minnesota since President Trump took office. Over the weekend and through yesterday's holiday, ICE arrested 113 illegal aliens in Minnesota. Some of the office. Over the weekend and through yesterday's holiday, ICE arrested 113 illegal aliens in Minnesota.
113, despite all the protests going on right now. Man, if I had the opportunity to give medals out, I would. I honestly would give out medals to these brave men and women out there. And don't forget, for the past 3-4 days, it's been negative temperatures. So they're still going out there to negative cold temperatures while all the protesters are inside warm saying, well, it's too cold. We're just going to protest when it gets warm again. Yeah, these agents are still out there protecting, serving our community.
Some of the criminal aliens that were arrested, whose photos you see beside me on the monitor, include an illegal alien gang member from Laos with convictions for homicide and robbery, an illegal alien from Laos who's been convicted for sodomizing a 12-year-old girl and sexual assault. An illegal alien from the Marshall Islands who has 24 criminal convictions, including assault, domestic abuse, and theft. There's an illegal alien from Honduras convicted of 3 DUIs who has also been arrested for kidnapping, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and possession of a stolen firearm. An illegal alien from South Africa convicted of violating a restraining order and arrested for domestic violence, assault, meth possession, and DUI. We are currently also looking for 2 sexual predators who are at large in or around St. Paul right now.
So they're looking for 2 people right now who are highly dangerous to society. And I'm pretty sure some of the protesters may know where he's at or they're at, and they're just not going to say anything. Because the government has literally brainwashed them to say ICE agents, monsters, boogeyman, big bad wolf.
A criminal illegal alien from Laos who is wanted for sexually assaulting a child, rape, kidnapping, and domestic violence. And Kong Ming Bang.
I pray that there is not a single story where an illegal hurts or kills any of our citizens, and then you hear ICE agents saying he was on our list to pick up, but we could not get him because of protesters keep warning them with their horns and stupid whistles. I seriously pray that we don't have an illegal who commits a violent crime and the ICE agent says he was on our radar, we just couldn't find him because of protesters, because that would be very heartbreaking. To know that the crime that was committed could have been prevented if the ICE agents could have got to him sooner. That would seriously break my heart. And we as citizens of Minnesota and protesters, we have to think about that. What if? What if I stopped this agent from going forward, walked him with my car, and next day we hear that illegal killed, raped, murdered, delivered a bunch of drugs that affected a whole neighborhood of kids. Like, we really have to ask what if questions. What are the consequences of our actions if we do this? I understand the Democratic citizens, the party, and the Republicans citizens, we have to come to a common ground, which is the safety of the citizens of Minnesota. That should be a common ground. No ifs, ands, and buts, right? We all agree that we want our kids, our family neighbors, our family members, our neighbors, our community to be safe. Do we not agree upon that? Can we come to agreement? That's what we want. If we can agree upon that, then how can we make our community safe? Do we go to our local mayors and say, hey, we want our law enforcement to work close with the ICE agents to get the criminals off the streets faster? Do we not block ICE agents' vehicles when they're trying to apprehend? Because you heard them. They're very precise, right? They've done a bunch of research, and they say, hey, we need to go after this person because this, and this. And so they activate the mission. Excuse me. The Republicans and Democrats have to find a common ground. We have to. It's a must. Or else we're tearing the state apart. We're causing great harm, scars upon this land of Minnesota. I would hate for the history of Minnesota where people have died and could have prevented if the protests were not getting in the way, letting these ICE agents, these men and women who are clearly heroes, do their jobs. We have to pause and think, are we causing more harm than good?
A criminal illegal alien from Laos who is wanted for sexual assault, gang activity, and simple assault. If you have any information about these two criminal illegal aliens or any other criminal illegal aliens, please call the ICE tip line at 866-DHS.
It'll pretty much wrap up here shortly. My question is, would you rather have this fine gentleman be out on the streets, or would you rather have the criminals, the sex offenders, the murderers, the rapists, the gang members, the drug dealers, would you rather have them on the streets? Let's just remove the part where they're illegal, right? Let's just remove that. Let's just say they're they're U.S. citizens, right? Let's just say they're U.S. citizens, right? These nice agents, let's remove the word ICE, okay? Let's just call them agents of the law, right? And let's just call these citizens who are committing these violent crimes. Would you rather have the agent on the streets patrolling, catching the violent criminals, or would you rather have the criminals out there on the streets where your family lives, where your kids go to school, where you work? Like I said, let's remove the illegal part. Let's remove the ICE part, right? Two people. One criminal, one agent of the law. Who would you rather have on the streets? There's no gray. There's literally no gray in this situation. It's very much black and white, white and black. I know I would have this agent on the streets patrolling the nights, catching criminals, and this criminal in jail. That's what I know. That's what I want. If you're out there protesting, saying, hey, I have this criminal out in the streets and this agent gone. And the next morning you read an article about how this criminal killed an innocent bystander. Again, Minnesota needs to find a common ground between Republicans and Democrats, between the citizens and the agents, and to ask themselves, who would they feel safer around? I have my answer. And I think you do too. You just don't want to say it. Ross Nova, shooting forward, brighter, bolder, for a safer tomorrow. Thank you.